Sector-wise GDP in India 2022 to 2023. Sector-wise GDP in India 2030 to 2031. Action Plan 2047. State-wise GSDP build-up. CorporateMOM. Corporate Management Orbiter Mission. Copyright. CorporateMOM. Corporate Management Orbiter Mission.
Executive Summary. Number 1. I am worth something now. To quote Vincent Van Gogh, if I am worth anything later, I am worth something now. For wheat is wheat, even if people fingers a grass in the beginning. My theme for 2024 is unleashing other people's energy. I have published several papers such as ERP is passé, Embrace EPP Effort per person. In this podcast episode, I state that India's economy will see accelerated growth from 2024 to 2030 to 2047. But this requires unleashing the energy of all employees. That's a theme. 2. GDP projections for India. I discussed the GDP projections for India in 2030-31 across agriculture, industry and services sectors. Agriculture and industry are given a markup while public administration is given a markdown. I explain how daily growth rate CDGR and daily reduction rates CDRR are important to achieve 2030-31 targets starting April 1, 2024. List of Indian states and union territories. I give a breakdown of GSDP for various Indian states, noting some discrepancies between different data sources. I recommend that the top 6 states target reaching $1 trillion GSDP, using Gujarat as an example to reach $1.5 trillion by 2030. I advocate reducing bureaucracy and public administration to enable the growth of companies and the economy. I propose a methodology to measure individual and company contributions to state GSDP based on physics, quantum physics, and metaphysics, the science of management operating system. Track innovation, measure performance. Number 4, agriculture. To reach the agriculture goal, FPOs need to be connected with farmers and given production targets, utilizing innovations like automation, drones, and AI. Number 5, industry. For industry, companies like Tata committing large investments can be tracked to measure progress. Innovation and technology utilization are key. 6, services. For services, expenses must be monitored and optimized, including investments in things like SAP or AI. 7, the methodology. The methodology used for Gujarat's GSDP planning should be replicated in every state to reach India's 5 trillion economy target by 2030. Planning must start by April 1, 2024.
Hello friends, this is another episode number 60 from CorporateMOM. Let me start with a quote from Vincent Van Gogh. If I am worth anything later, I am worth something now. For wheat is wheat, even if people think is a grass in the beginning. This year's theme in my preview 2024, I had indicated unleashing other people's energy. In our companies, there are very many people. Some of the companies 100,000 people. My work is in terms of CorporateMOM, corporate management orbiter mission. And this is a indication of how it works in a corporate atomic structure based on science. One is the physics, corporate atomic structure. Then quantum physics, matter energy. And you have metaphysics, which is energy that converts, takes an effort That's the return on the intangible. Converting the matter into energy. When antimatter collides with matter, it transforms into pure energy. That is as simple as that. In fact, the management is very simple if these three areas are being taken into account. But what really happens is in a company, we run a company with about 100,000 people, CEOs and a few vice presidents, board of directors, some senior managers, about say who are all active in it. It's a hierarchical one-man call center. You take the decision and transform the decision down below to the lowest cadre. That is how we have been functioning. Here's for them. Those 100,000 minus 1,000 who are quite active is the one which I am addressing. If I am worth anything later, I would like them to talk about it. I am worth something now. For wheat is wheat, even if people think it's a grass in the beginning. That is potential we got to look at. When you look at a student in a 6th standard or 8th standard, you look at the person who is going to be a Nobel Prize laureate sometime later. They are worth something. Everybody is worth something. It's an amazing concept which every neuro scientist have been talking about. So this is the important message you would like to give. I had earlier said, indicated, beware of the Ides of March. Ides of March have gone. I'm somewhere in another few days. We are in April 1st. When we are looking at the budgeting 24-25, budgeting 2030, budgeting 2047. When we are looking at the 2047 budgeting aspects of it today, I am worth anything later. I am worth something now. That now has to be transformed into 2047. And that is the purpose I had already analyzed in terms of what it is for three major sectors of Indian economy, how the Indian economy is going to grow from here to 2030, from 2030 to 2047, is an acceleration which is not going to be stopped. But a real pulsating energy of people, the people of 100,000 minus about 1,000 who are active, have to be activated. They have to be accelerated. And that is the principle of the return on the intangible. So I am indicating here in this narrative how we are going to make it happen from the B school standards to investor. We are expecting billions of dollars coming in from the major investors for the Indian economy. How everybody, every individual have to be brought into focus as what they are doing now and how it has to be. For wheat is a wheat, even if people think it's a grass in the beginning. It's maybe simple, ordinary people. I just saw Prime Minister Modi addressing the startups, and he was telling the same thing. Entrepreneurship. How you guys are going to become a great entrepreneur. This is the one which I would like to address in this particular episode. Please listen to me. Thank you.
In this page, I'm giving here what I had given earlier in my previous podcast. That is sector-wise GDP in India as on now and as it would be in 2030-31. Broadly speaking, of three categories: agriculture, industry and services. We find agriculture, forestry and fishing going up from 18.42% of the total 2030-31 is 5 trillion to 20%. The ratio would be what it is. It will be $1 trillion by 2030-31. Mining and quarrying, it is now 2.36%. It will go up to 4.22%, giving a GDP value of US $210.93 billion. Just to remind you, mining and quarrying have increased to 3 times from the current value. In 2030-31, manufacturing currently 14.7%, then it goes up to 17.52%, value of 876.18 billion. I expect that to go to 1 trillion by that time, but we have restricted to 5 trillion in fact, which is manufacturing is double the valuation of what it is today. Electricity, gas, water supply and other utility services is 3% it is as of now. Goes up to 3.57% at $178.68 billion. Construction 8.19% goes up to 9.77%, the value of $488.56 billion. That broadly speaking about the industry as a whole. Coming to the services, trade, hotels, transport, communication services related to broadcasting, etc. It is now 17.98%. Our current GDP total is $3.2 trillion. Goes up to 15.14%. I'm sorry, goes down to 15.14%, $756.94 billion. The reason I had explained earlier about it, why it has to go down. It is a balancing figure, keeping 5 trillion as a constant. Then financial, real estate and professional services, 21.42% as of now, goes down to 18.04%, $586.77 billion. Public administration, defense and other services, 13.94% as of now, goes down to 11.74%. That is about $901.92 billion. This is broadly speaking of services, which was 53.34%. Services goes down to 44.91%. Agriculture 18.422, 20%. Industry 28.25% to GDP ratio of 35.09%, 30-31. So this is what it is. I will break it down to the individual states. The reason, there are 2 reasons which I am giving it here. One is about CAGR, that is to CDGR. CDGR is a daily growth rate. CAGR is what it is going to be in 30-31 and how from today it is going to be increase of CAGR. We bring it down to daily growth rate. When I say daily growth rate, in my explanation in my presentation here is to the budgeting for 24-25, budgeting for 30-31, budgeting for 47-48. So when we are talking of Idza March has gone, 15th of March, we are somewhere in between hiatus. That's between 15th of March to 31st of March. That's when I am talking here. So our daily growth rate starts from April 1st. So let us be very clear about it. If you want to achieve 30, it's like playing an ODI. When ODI starts and you are given a target of about 300 runs and you got to with your 11 players, you have to achieve the 300 runs. It is 50 overs. 50 overs starts now. That is how we play the cricket. Same way, the 30-31 CAGR starts now to locate and start working on that in before April 1st. Practically speaking, we should be ready with that our data figure and be ready to go for our achievements and performance. That is the action plan for 2047 starts now in 1st of April 2024. Now, when you talk of that is CAGR, what is CARR? Now, when we come to the agriculture is going up, industry going up from 28% to 35%, whereas services is going down 53.34%, 44.91%. That is the CARR. That is reduction rate. RR stands for reduction rate. There's a lot of things have to be reduced, and that also has to be done by CDRR. As much as we do for CDGR, growth rate, we are looking at the CDRR, daily reduction rate. This in various factors, particularly on the public administration side, a very huge reduction is expected. So this please bear in mind. Then I will explain how it has to go from bottom to the top. I'm not an economist. I'm an accountant. So I won't be able to give you a figure without tallying my trial balance. This is very important for me. So the 5 trillion I have arrived at as a total. I am not changing that. But I have changed the agriculture and industry factors, and naturally the balance figure is available in 5 trillion. I don't want to give a sort of a capital output ratio why this services sector is going to boom, that is going to go up. I'm not an economist, I'm an accountant. I have kept that $5 trillion as the figure, constant figure. I have reduced and I have arrived at a logical conclusion that we got to reduce. CARR has to be done on a daily basis, particularly on the public administration and the economics department also. So please bear in mind. Then I will now explain on the states, individual states, how to go about it. In this page I am giving the breakup of various states. Pardon me, there could be a difference between what I had given earlier, $2.981 trillion, which I extracted from IBF. Here it is $3.22 trillion. I will talk about the differences and all that later. The point is that I am bringing this information for your attention, mainly to state that our methodology of collating the statistics of various states, and for example in the case of just before the budget, national budget, we give the economic survey. The economic survey, if you look at it, there are several states where it is indicated NA, NA. That is not applicable. That is, the figures do not reach the central government by the time what is being reported. And that collating of the information for statistics is, in my opinion, is not NA is I would interpret as not acceptable. So if there are differences, there will be bound to be differences, and that is the problem here in economic survey of India to IBEF to this Wikipedia information, and not to talk about what we are giving to IMF and World Bank and whatnot. So we are not in a position to decide as to what figures that we are looking at, how the data gets added up, and that is the point in which I am coming here into CAGR to CDGR, CARR to CDRR, as to the three major categories of our GDP, of India's GDP, to 5 trillion in 2030. So if you look at the individual list of Indian states, the first 5 is about $250 billion, and Maharashtra leading the list. Gujarat is 265, and in the next 3 pages I'll give the details about how Gujarat, which the blueprint which I had created in 2020 for 5 years, to reach $1.5 trillion. This 265 to part of $5 trillion in 2030, it is feasible, and is also possible that it alone has got about $1.5 trillion by the time. There has been a lot of talk about Tamil Nadu is the first one, as ex-RBI governor had been Raghuram was talking about. It will be the first one to reach the $1 trillion. I very much doubt, because this is the one which I am talking about, the third category of services of public administration. Public administration is very difficult. In fact, even any state, a big entrepreneur, a big investor, they go directly to the chief secretary to get an appointment with the chief minister and get their clearance as to their investment and other things and all that. What to talk of individual small companies is very, very difficult. Whereas Tamil Nadu is the worst of all. It is the most corrupt state in our country. For them to say, or Raghuram Rajan to say, that this is the first one is going to be the reaching the 1 trillion. You may reach the 1 trillion without any value addition in terms of what the values of individual companies are going to get. This is a very major information which everybody knows. I am just making it clear. Every state has to strive to take a target of 1 trillion. At least about first 6 states, and on the basis of from bottom to the top. If $265 billion of Gujarat as on today, $1.5 trillion by 2030, then you have a breakup for all the 3 categories. That is agriculture, and I had compared Gujarat to South Korea. South Korea, as on today, has got $1.5 trillion. And in terms of population, Gujarat is 70 million. That one, South Korea is also 70 million. In terms of area, it's almost the same. Both are the same. But the only difference is that Gujarat produces $265 billion, whereas GDP of South Korea is $1.5 trillion. So there is a great opportunity to meet that target. If Gujarat is going to meet the target of 1.5 trillion is because of the individual components. As we have done from the GDP for the nation to individual states, we are coming to from individual state GSDP to individual companies, corporate. Each and every, like for example, agriculture. Agriculture is in Gujarat is about 13 million farmers. The 13 million farmers, each, indicating the individual FPOs, FECs, we are in a position to project what they are going to get, or what these farmers, 13 million farmers, are going to get the reach the target equivalent to their share of $1 trillion. Similarly, for each and every company, this is what I am recommending for. Like for example, I think I said about Assam, where Tata Group is going to invest. So Assam is roughly about $55 billion today. But there's an opportunity for Tata Group going to invest in heavily. So Assam has to work, Punjab has to work, individual state has to work. What is their ratio of $5 trillion in these three categories? That is agriculture, manufacture, industry, and reduction in public administration, whatnot. Is a very must, in my opinion, the public administration. As on today, the chief secretaries and bureaucrats are stalling the progress of the individual company's growth. And that is the one which is a major problem. Reaching to the chief ministers, reaching to the minister, reaching to the department head, reaching to the, like for example, RTOs. Try out transport, other things and all that. Various factors hurdles have been removed in the last 10 years by Prime Minister Modi. But yet more have to be done. And that is where the increase in value addition of individual states. And individual states have to do the same thing which I have given for Gujarat. And the same pattern, and each component of who is going to provide that increase in GDP. Those are all industry-wise, agriculture-wise, and the addition in terms of services. So when we do that, we are talking of individual companies, individual growth potential, and the same thing is being built up. When it is being built up, you are in a position to use. We are coming down to the last level. If you come to the individual companies, the companies are made up of, as I said earlier, 100,000 people, for example, one company. And we are making the return on intangible. That is where I said the third law. That is, antimatter collides with matter. The matter becomes a pure energy. And that is the third law. And that is how the individual the contribution has to be measured. That is what I said, the very simple. Physics, quantum physics, and metaphysics. They pulled together. We are in a position to find out the same of creating a major exercise. I would rather say is a minor exercise for the companies, and start the ball rolling by 1st April. First we saw here in this page I am giving Gujarat State GSDP 2030-31. First we saw the national one, which is sector-wise GDP in India 2022-23, and then 2030-31 to $5 trillion. Agriculture, industry, and services. Then we broke it down to the individual states, which is also currently at 2.981 or 3.221 according to which particular database that we are looking at. We shall take it as about $3 trillion at the moment, and going toward $5 trillion. Here I am bringing into the individual state. Each state has to do the same thing, which what I am presenting here. For Gujarat State GSDP 2030-31 target of $1.5 trillion. $1.5 trillion is what the Chief Minister of Gujarat had suggested. At that point of time, 2021, I was working on this, and even though subsequently it has been not taken note of. That $1.5 trillion, I am putting it for Gujarat state. Now, taking the quick estimate of the next 3 pages, I'm giving the full details about agriculture, industry, and the services, breakdown to individual items. The 2017-2018 quick estimate was already 2 years old when I was looking at 2 to 3 years old actually. At that time, it gave a percentage for agriculture 16.42, industry 47.85, and the services 35.72%. It is, if you look at it, it's totally different from a national percentage of industry and sector-wise analytics. Now, taking this 16.42% and projecting to 2031 to 20% for agriculture, you get about $300 billion if the total is going to be 1,500 billion. That is 1.5 trillion, 2030-31 only for Gujarat state. Then you have industry 50%, currently is 47.85%. And now it will be $750 billion. And services now is 35.72, goes down to 30% to $450 billion. Out of the same method of projecting for agriculture and manufacturing, industry, and then to balancing for services. So the same logic which I said for the national sector-wise analytics applies here also. Now, here we are looking at a target of $300 billion, which is about 20% for Gujarat state agriculture. What is to be done? Now, this is the paradigm shift of database development, which we have been doing currently ex post facto, based on what the department, economics department, statistical department pulls out. That is, to me, as I said, NA, not acceptable. We got to do that on an online basis. That is, CAGR being brought to CDGR. That's what I have been suggesting. And this is feasible for agriculture. What we have to do in the agriculture is about $300 billion, which is going towards $43.52 billion, mind you, which is about $265 billion as on today. To this alone, agriculture alone is going to be about $300 billion. We have to achieve the $1.5 trillion, which is feasible, as I have been suggesting, for Gujarat state, good in agriculture as such. You have to go, the $300 billion target must be given and distributed to as many FPOs as possible. Some of them doing very well in groundnut, some of them doing very well in various other producers. So we got to connect with the FPOs. When we connect with the FPOs, 13 million farmers, if you divide by as many number of FPOs, you have each FPO having a connectivity with specific number of identifiable farmers. Those farmers are being given a target. There is a very good difference between corporate and the agriculture. Agriculture farmers, mind you, they are the owners of the farms, owners of the land. Whereas in corporate, including CEO, you have the employees. They are not the owners. They are the employees who is working for a particular company. Today they will be there, tomorrow they will leave. They can. It's not the case with agriculture. They are there with the agriculture land tilling day in and day out 24/7. It keeps on going. So when we do that, you have a stable farmers connected with the FPOs, given the target, which is traceable, and track what has been given and how it is going to go to the target of $300 billion. That's one. Number two, the ethical responsibility of farmers is superlative. Not like corporate problem area. That is, this is a major. In corporate, you got to have a code of conduct, code of business principles. All that being done is an extra work for the corporate, whether the guys within the company are following it or not. Is not the case with farmers. Ethical responsibility, they may commit suicide, but ethical responsibility for the farmers is the highest level of anybody could think of. So that is 2. Now what has to be done to reach the 300? There are 2 corporate model looks at any organization, 2 process: creative process and action process. In $300 billion, from 43.52 billion to $300 billion, you got to identify one creative process. The strategic plan 2030 agriculture by itself is innovation. That's why we are proceeding further. There are 6 stages in which from the thinking of $43.52 billion, that is the starting point, to $300 billion. Step by step analytics is available from CorporateMOM. So that itself is an innovation. Now, if you go for the innovations in agriculture farming in 2023, I have taken some of the areas which from jiva.ag blog, they are very nicely given. In fact, farm automation, blockchain, IoT in agriculture, geographic information system, AI, ML and data science in agriculture technology, regenerative agriculture, controlled environmental agriculture, agriculture robotics, drones, precision agriculture, agriculture biotechnology, big data and analytics, connectivity technologies. So we have 13 innovation that are very critical, essential to take the agriculture from the current level of 43.52 billion to 300 billion only for Gujarat state. So this is the area we have to look at, the creative process. Then when we look at the creative process, what are the opportunities that are available in the innovative products, how it is going to help in terms of yield, in terms of produce, in terms of making up to the several $1 billion to addition, which are being assisted to, given the assistance to the farmers and the FPOs. So you are identifying the FPOs, you are identifying the individual farmers, and you are able to get what is required in terms of innovations, which is done. Then a practical way of action process starts. The action process, once we have the strategy plan 2030 being created, well taken into account what the requirements of investment in technology and other things and all that, how it is going to benefit in terms of reaching the target. It's not only 300 billion, it's not only in terms of earnings. The Crane reports, CorporateMOM gives corporate governance, risk management, accounting quality and management quality, which are intangible. This is the one which we have to do, what the return on the intangible of each farmer, each FPO, each 13 million, how it is being collated in terms of men equity and women equity, and how it is being taken to the level of 300 in terms of the value system that is being. Then we are in a position to track it. That is in the action process. When you look at the action process, we are talking of the investment in innovation, technology, also the big data and analytics. Big data and analytics in terms of purely what that will come out of the action process. We are able to collect that information. I've already given in my previous podcast in terms of how we are going to give the everlasting metrics and benchmarks. This would be applied and CorporateMOM will be able to get it done in terms of daily GR, the growth rate, that is CAGR of $300 billion brought to CDGR of April 1st, 2024. Then we are in a position to identify and equate with each and every item that is being given in this strategy plan 2030 of agriculture. Then we are going to say the industry. It's the same process. If Tatas are going to invest about 25,000 crores of Gujarat, we are in a position to know what the industry is looking at. They are also in the innovation. They are also in various aspects of technology and various areas of IA and AI and ML and data science in the industrial technology. So we have to collect the same information, same time, and how they are going to proceed. And the strategy plan have to be 2030 have to be governed by each and every individual, like Tata's having a commitment and have the entanglement with Gujarat state. So are hundreds and hundreds of companies, from Adani to Reliance to every company that are involved. Each company, each group of companies have to create the strategy plan 2030. What is their contribution to reach from the current level of 126.81 to $750 billion in 2030? And you have to process, creative process, and what is the investment in innovation, how we are going to track it in terms of this thing. The third is the services, 94.67 to $450 billion. It is a big amount, but in terms of percentage, it is coming down 35.72% to 30%. When we say the public administration, we always correlate the public administration to government sector. We don't realize that if you look at the companies, the industry sector, they are the ones who are creating the fixed cost in each company. As big as I said earlier, is about SAP revenue model of SAP is the fixed cost of various companies. Most of the MNCs very heavily invest in these areas, particularly on services. That affects the profitability of the each company. So that is the one. If you have to have the $450 billion services sector, which is expense, which is going to create that, the care must be taken in terms of how we are going to bring about the reduction in terms of the administration expenses, taking the loan facilities, the finance and other things and all that, or it could be an investment in SAP, or today we are talking about AI. Why should AI be invested? I mean, it has to be questioned in terms of what we are going to gain out of it, each company. So you are having a data of collecting the data, target of 2030, $1.5 trillion for Gujarat state GSDP. We are able to identify to each and every company involved, corporate sector involved in each and every one of these three areas of sector-wise analytics, that is agriculture, industry and services. Now, extrapolate the same thing for each and every state. Collect that information. It could be 1 trillion, it could be 1.5 trillion, it could be $750 billion, as the case may be, or in the case of, as I said, $55 billion today, keep it for $250 billion by 2030. But the same work which we have talked about in GSDP for Gujarat state has to be done for each and every state, whether it's Assam or Andaman Nicobar. It could be small, but the methodology has to be done and implemented. Collectively, the list of states which you have seen will reflect how we are going to reach $5 trillion. The $5 trillion for the national economy, Indian economy. That $5 trillion, as I said earlier, Raghuram Rajan was mentioning that the first state was to cross the 1 trillion would be Tamil Nadu. I doubted it, but the one state which is going to reach, in my opinion, is not Tamil Nadu, but Uttar Pradesh. Uttar Pradesh is the one, in my opinion. If you look at the cream technology, corporate governance, risk management, earnings, accounting quality and management quality. The earnings is the one we are talking about, say agriculture or say $1 trillion. But the supporting elements of corporate governance and risk management and accounting quality and management quality, Uttar Pradesh has done a very great job. I want to remind of what Prime Minister Modi had said in one of those conferences with police. He said smart policing. When he said, he explained, smart, S for strict but sensitive, M for modern and mobile, A for alert and accountable, R for reliable and responsive, and T for techno-savvy and trained. And this is the one which Uttar Pradesh has done a very remarkable job, not only in policing, in terms of every area of construction activities, agriculture activities, and this is the one which is going to develop into a sure shot reaching the target of say $1 trillion. In the case of Tamil Nadu, we got to wait for the new government that comes in 2026. Definitely, I'm sure about Annamalai will head the Chief Minister post. Then 26 to 2030 will definitely see a smart policing person like Annamalai can take to $1 trillion, which is currently at very low in the sense it is just about $250 billion. So this is what I would like to talk about. We say it is playing like ODI, but ODI, we have a target of 300 runs, I said. That has to start after the first team has finished and given you the target. That's what you did in most of the GSDP we have done already. We are now looking into 2030 as a target. So the similar one is being done for the ODI, and the ODI has to start. If it is a day session, if it is a 2 o'clock innings start for chase the target of 300 runs, you got to do it at 2 o'clock. You can't say that the first team has already finished. I will come and do it in leisurely after 1 year, 2 year, 3 year. No way. Or tomorrow or day after. No. You got to do in the same day. And the same thing which I would like to emphasize here in the 2030 target has to start on April 1st, 2024.